Hi, Brian.
Hi Zeeshan, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How's the UK today?
Hot, can you believe?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear it's nice and warm and sunny. So thank
Everybody's
you so much for being on the Successful CEO. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being interviewed and opening up to everybody and giving us a chance to understand a little bit more about yourself. And to start off with, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
well. I've got a company called IBCS Group, International Barcode Systems, if you like, made up of 5 companies in Eastern Europe: Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Bulgaria. And we're involved in barcode and RFID solutions, i.e. hardware and software,
Mm-hmm.
and infrastructure for supply chain, retail, government, manufacturing, warehouse distribution. We've been there since the wall came down in 1989.
Okay.
So we've been market
Moment in
leaders.
history.
It's a long, long time. So we're very well established, and that's what we do. We make companies more efficient.
Right. Amazing. Amazing. And so you've been doing this quite a long time. So you've got a huge mountain of experience that we can sort of talk to you about. That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of failures as well. So don't forget those.
They're the best ones. They're the best ones.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning for a moment. What inspired you to become, in essence, an entrepreneur?
Well, I was late in life when I did, actually. I was 35. I
Mm,
had wanted to be an entrepreneur, although I never kind of labeled it that. It was just that I knew I wanted to start my own business. My father had his own business in haute
right.
couture, in dress designing in London. So I guess I got brought up like that. So yeah, I just thought I must run my own company, but I could never
Right.
find what to do, basically. It was
The
only when
idea. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't have any idea what to do. Um, so my last job was in barcodes,
Oh
and
wow.
uh,
Okay.
that was in 1978. So I built that up for a paper company called Reed, and
Mhm.
then they got taken over by an American company, who then went into Chapter 11 in the States because they kind of
Right.
went bust, and they gave me my customer base and told me to leave, and made me
Wow. Okay.
redundant. So that was the kick in the butt that I needed.
To get going.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I would normally ask, so who inspired you? But you've already given that inspiration. You know, your father did it. Um,
Yes.
he did that work. So is that where the inspiration comes from? Is it a family line?
I think so. If you get brought up in an entrepreneurial environment, it kind of sticks because that's what you learn, isn't it? You
Mm.
haven't got any big corporates to hang over you, and your father doesn't come home complaining about all the politics and all the rubbish he's had to endure during the day. So you're not exposed to that. So,
Amazing. Well,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. My father also was employed in the banking industry. Then he became an entrepreneur. My eldest brother's an entrepreneur as well. So I get it. I understand that. And I mean, in all this amazing sort of career path that you've had, what is your sort of what's the special formula that you have that makes you successful?
Well, I think there are 2 types of people who run companies. There's the visionary and the person that does the execution of the business plan. I think it's really important to have both types of people. So I'm the visionary type. I'm not really into the detail.
Right.
And my big regret, actually, is that I never had a partner who was the details person. Although, having
Right.
said that, I did go into business with my late wife, who was just very intuitive, and that's why I love having women working for me.
Mm.
She was amazing. She would give a different side of the business completely that I never even thought of. And
Right.
that kept me sane. And so anybody listening out there, really go for some women in your company. They're amazing.
There
But
you go.
So so I guess so I was a visionary, and I learned to join the dots, as my hero Steve Jobs of Apple used to say. You know, I would sort of spot things over a period of time, file them away, and then you know, at the right time, I joined the dots. So it's like opportunity coming up. And I always say, you know, if you get an opportunity, grab it, don't let it go, because opportunities don't come around that often. So that I think is another thing. And in the particular business I've got, the other successful formula is all the guys I'm mentoring, if you like, who are my business partners in these countries. I've given them empowerment, ownership, and trust in the business. So I've set them up a business with shares, money, and everything. So they actually have a majority share in each of the companies. So it's like it's their own business. So they rise and fall with that. And I think that's been a successful formula too.
Well, it sounds like it, definitely. I mean, having people who think of your business as their own is only going to be a positive thing. They take the risks and they reap the rewards at the same time with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Sounds like you should write a book or something, considering all this amazing experience that you have, and like as you said, all the failures and all the successes that come with it.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Zeeshan, because I just happen to have a book right here that I have written called Raise the Bar, Change the Game.
What's the book about?
Well, it's about my life in the barcode industry, and all my failures and successes. That's why I've subtitled it Success Primer for Entrepreneurs Who Want to Change the World. Because, you know, I think it's important to have real world examples in a business book, rather than a lot of fluff and hot air, which might be good hot air. But my book actually, you know, gives lessons learned at the end of each chapter. So you can look back on that chapter, see what I did wrong, and how I fixed it, and make sure you don't make the same mistakes that I did.
Sounds like a book I need to read. Where can I get it?
Well,
let's get the selfless plug-in.
Amazon,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you send me the link, I'll put the link into the description below the video later on, so everyone can also access it as well.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
And I'll get a copy, hopefully. Excellent. Well, that's actually really exciting. I mean, given that, you know, you've written that book, and then everyone can sort of go in and read that and understand your journey. And I mean, it kind of leads into my next question, because we were talking about risk. As an entrepreneur over this journey, what's the biggest risk that you've ever taken, and what was your learning experience out of it?
I think it's so important to be a risk taker, because without a risk, you can't really grow or do anything. So the definition almost of an entrepreneur is a risk taker. Of course, everybody's got different appetite for risk. My appetite seems to be quite good, because as I say in the book, it doesn't really matter what happens. If you risk something and fail, you're really just back to square one, you know, so nobody died. So what's wrong with taking a risk? So my biggest risk, I think, well, apart from starting the business, obviously, but I had a very supportive wife who was quite happy for less take-home pay until we got going, was when things started to go wrong, which was probably in the year 2000, where I wanted to buy a company that was a no-brainer for me. I just wanted to borrow 50,000 quid from the bank. And instead of being welcomed with open arms, they put me into incubation. And for those of your viewers who have never heard of incubation, like I never did, they were saying, you're going to go bust in a year. So we want all our money back. I had an overdraft of £400,000 in those days. And so we're going to control your account. Any money that comes in goes to pay off the debt. And you can only pay people we say you're going to pay. So they ran me, if you like, for about a year. And so I thought, well, stuff this. I'll go into a CVA, which is a commercial voluntary agreement, I think. They're quite popular these days for all the retailers who want to get their rents down. But basically, it means to do a deal with your creditors that says, you know, if you let me go under, you won't get any money. But if we can
Of course.
cut a deal, you know, that'd be great. So I have to go to my two biggest suppliers. You can read about this in the book, actually.
Okay,
My
I will.
my two biggest suppliers, who I owed £250,000 each to, and said this, exactly this: I can go under and you never see it again, or you can waive it, and we'll be doing business for many, many years. And to this day, and they did. And today I buy $21 million of stuff from them. So, you know, that was a pretty good decision of theirs. And I did the same with all the other creditors I had as well, and including the government, the VAT people and all that. And I managed to get out of it and start again.
Wow. Okay. So biggest risk, lots learned, and businesses still running. Excellent. I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
So within this organization, that, you know, this amazing, what sounds like a huge organization that you have. I mean, I'm in the marketing industry. I do marketing work. I've been in the digital industry. I've run businesses and things. And one question that always comes up to me is how do you encourage creative thinking within your organization that you've now got this now sort of very well established and running well? Do you encourage creative thinking for your employees?
Absolutely. I used the word empowerment earlier on. And so I'm chairman, if you like, of the company, because obviously I can't run it from England, and nor would I want to. I don't even speak the languages. Anyway, so I am responsible, always have been, for strategy. So I do most of the strategic thinking, but I have to sell all my ideas to these guys. I don't impose my ideas at all. So we sit around, we discuss them, and if they push back, fine, okay. I either think again, bin it, or whatever. And we use various tools that I've taught them over the years, one of which is called Blue Ocean Strategy, which is thinking out of the box in a way. There's red ocean strategy and blue ocean strategy. So red ocean strategy is what everybody's trying to do, is find a gap in the market and, you know, make something cheaper and better and all that. Whereas a blue ocean strategy is more looking at the customer's needs and how you can change a paradigm in a business to grow. Cirque du Soleil is a very good example of that, how they changed the world in circuses, and put it all on its head. So I've instilled this culture in the group, really, to put everything on its head. And I guess being market leaders, we have to be ahead of the competition. We have to keep abreast of all the new technologies. And it's just, you know, all our meetings are about strategic thinking and all that. And as I say, sometimes I use visionary tools with kind of post-it notes and what have you. Otherwise, we just go to the pub and have a few drinks and discuss over that, you know. Tongues get loosened.
Right? Eh? If it works, it works. That's what I always say.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, I like to think there's a great culture of creative thinking in the group.
Well, that's good to hear. And I mean, I know we're running a little bit short on time, so a little bit about yourself. And I would normally ask about you and what you do and, you know, your experiences. Instead, I'm going to ask you a different question. Since you've already written a book, what's on your reading list that you read?
Well, I do. I hate to say I read thrillers. I do read some autobiographies. I've just read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming Michelle, which is fantastic. I thoroughly recommend that. I've read Steve Jobs's autobiography.
Of course.
But there's some classic books that I always recommend people to read things like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Business, which his second habit I always use when I mentor people, start with the end in mind and then work backwards. So dream big and then work, visualize where you want to be in 5-10 years time, and then work back how you're going to get there is good. Then there's Jim Collins's Good to Great, which is fantastic, how he interviewed all the great companies, how they built the company with their hedgehog principle, with their different types of leadership, all that kind of thing. What else? Who Stole My Cheese is good. That's all about change.
I've read that one.
You've read that, have you?
I've read that one. Yep, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, there's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is still a bestseller after 1930 he wrote it. So that's 80 years, unbelievable. But he talks about mastermind groups even back then. And,
right, okay.
Sitting around trusting each other and working issues out. The World is Flat is another great book. Watch out, anybody who's an accountant or hasn't got a very exciting job, because you're going to get replaced, because
the robots are coming.
What?
I said the robots are coming.
Oh yeah, the robots are coming. Robots are here. I could go on, but you said we're short of time. But there's a few for you.
Well, it's more about not wasting your time here, so that's always a good one.
Oh, I've got all afternoon. Don't worry.
So I'm going to finish off with a final question about the future. And there's a lot of people who want to become very, very successful, be it a successful CEO or a successful entrepreneur who want to start their own business. What would be that one piece of advice? If you could walk into a classroom tomorrow and there's a group of 30, 40 children sitting there, say 10 to 12 years old, what would be that one bit of advice that you want them to walk away from you with?
Yes, I love that question. Actually, I've just spoken to my ex-school, my old school, about my book, actually 80 of them, but they're sort of a bit older. They're 17, 18. But anyway, the same advice I'd give to anybody. Think, dream big and then dream bigger. And be a risk taker, believe in yourself. Self-confidence is so important. I reckon 95% of the world lacks self-confidence. So if you've got self-confidence, you're already ahead of 95% of the world. So that's a good start. Come up with an idea that it doesn't have to be so revolutionary that it's going to change the world. There aren't that many ideas like that yet. Just come up with something you're passionate with, and do it better than anybody else. And then believe in it, and don't be thrown off the rails by naysayers, negative people. Be positive and surround yourself with positive thinking and positive thoughts. And remember that everything is possible. You can absolutely do anything you want. Nothing's stopping you.
Love it. Amazing. Brian, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you so much for your time. Show me your book one more time. Let's have a look for everyone and bring it up to the camera so people can see.
There you are.
The Bar, Change the Game by Brian Marcel. Guys, we'll put the link into the description. Go buy it from Amazon, right?
Yeah.
From Amazon. Cool. Brian, thanks. Have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Zeeshan. Thanks.
Okay.
All the best. Bye now. Bye.